Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you again on this fine Monday night. Welcome to Carnivore Talk. I've got Jeff here on screen with me. And of course, as usual, this is our roundtable discussion where we can have up to 10 participants on the screen. That means you are invited. And if you are on YouTube, there's a link posted right at the top. And if you're not on YouTube, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, I'm going to paste it right now over here in the chat so you can see it. And you can come join us on screen. And we like to talk about all things health, nutrition, diet, and lifestyle. We do tend to lean more towards the carnivore side of the spectrum. That's the name of the channel, and most of us are finding success on a carnivore diet, although we, of course, love all of our brothers and sisters who are doing anything they can to better their health through diet and nutrition. So you're welcome on here if you're doing ketovore, if you're doing keto, low carb. That's okay too. So get on, tell us what made you decide to live this way and how have you benefited. We would love to hear it. Our topic for today is carnivore. What did I call it? I called it vegan deception. Something. What was it? Carnivore. Where's it at? Carnivore truth versus vegan deception. And we'll get to that in a little bit. The reason I thought of that is, we have some events over the last couple weeks that have been just preoccupying my mind, and I want to talk about it, but I don't know if I want to talk about it on this channel. I kind of hinted towards this last week. There's, this is a carnivore channel, so I want to stick towards carnivore diet nutrition topics. But sometimes I think about starting another channel where I can talk about anything I want. And my thought of the last couple of weeks has been like, you know what, lies can get people killed, because we saw a major, now for sure, national figure get killed because people spread lies about them. And then that got me thinking, so there's nutritional lies that get people in all sorts of danger with their health as well. So I thought that'd be a good carryover topic that we could apply to the things that we put in our mouths. So that's why the topic tonight is going to be carnivore truth versus vegan deception, is the way I call it. I renamed it a couple things, so I keep juggling them around in my mind. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So if you're a current vegan, that's cool. Don't think that we're judging you harshly. We don't want to deny the fact that a well-crafted vegan diet is sustainable, but we do have to put the emphasis on well-crafted, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But we certainly do believe that the carnivore way of eating is going to benefit you better in the long run. So, and we're going to welcome back Paul. Paul was actually our first commenter in the chat today at 7:46 as he was waiting. Good afternoon or good evening, Paul. How are you doing?
Doing good.
All right. Very good. Yes, there's Paul. We'll say hello to some people in the chat before we get rolling here. So Paul was the first one in the waiting room waiting for the stream to start. So it's good to see you. And then we had Terry, and in third place, we had Carnivore Coach Edens. So good to see all of you over here in the chat. We've got Maine Runner. And that would that be Maine as in like the state of Maine, or is there another meaning behind that? Papa Carnivore is in the house. Glad to see here. You says that he is working until 9 and then he can come on with his camera. Okay, so that's good. We always look forward to Papa Carnivore. Stick around. He'll be joining us in about an hour. And maybe we'll see Rick in about an hour too. That's usually around the time he comes on as well. Don Shonger, good to see you here. And good evening, Brian Fly Fisherman Dish. It's good to have you here. And listening while you get ready for work, that's absolutely fine. I do the same thing in the mornings when I'm driving to work. I got on Mitch, Old Guy Carnivore. I'll be listening to him in the morning. So I do the same thing. That's my morning, because right now it's 8 p.m. for me. Brisket Boomers, Terry B, Truth Nourishes. Yes, I had like, in mind, like, the truth will set you free, but I didn't want to go really that far, so the truth nourishes, I thought was a good title. Grammy G is in the house. Good to see you. How have you been? I believe you're the one like me in the health department. How are you holding up? And that just skipped past me here. So, and we got Target Prime Rib. It's good to see you here, Tom. Glad you could join us. I am in Maine and I'm a carnivore runner. Very good. It's good that you run. I need to do more running. That's something that I really want to do, is more physical exercise. So I've been able to lose weight and feel great without doing much, but I think I could really up my game if I included a little more physical activity. All right, Brisket.
I hated running when I was in the Army. When I was in athletics, I hated running, and I haven't run since 1981. I have not run a step since 1981, or in 1980. I forget which. I guess it was 81. Anyways, that was when I was in a bad car wreck, and I got a leg messed up bad enough that it crippled me, and I couldn't run. Now, even though I used to hate running, I kind of wished I could now.
I've done some like running. I used to play soccer when I was a youngin', and I've ran from some cops in my teenage years. And
I did too, but it was on a motorcycle.
And I've ran with the kids. I mean, I get out and I do the fall hiking spree. I take the dog for a walk. But I'd like to up my pace and get my heart beating a little more heavier and do a little more in the aerobic department. I could do better in that department, and I want to. So, and I just looked at the profile picture. I see who Brisket Boomers is. She's in Maine also. Goral on life. Been eating both grass-fed meat and beef fat trimmings. Can't do fatty steaks because expensive. Been doing off and on for months because trouble of adaptation. Got blood test. Triglycerides is 308. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. I will say that the price of steaks is actually, I keep seeing it going up and up and up, and it is a bit alarming. I hope that trend stops soon. Now I'm starting to be a little more mindful of the sales, but yeah, it seems like my New York strips are more than what ribeyes were just a few months ago. And last week I talked about even buying some chuck steak to try and eat, and I actually couldn't stand it. It was so tough. So, but yeah, meat is getting expensive. And,
hey, how you doing?
That's okay.
Yeah,
hey, Tom.
it is. Cattle
Bob,
prices right now.
Good, Tom.
Hey,
cattle prices right now are.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Anyways, I was just going to say, cattle prices are as high as I've ever seen them right now. I mean, from the selling end, it's great. I can get good money on the hoof right now. But yeah, from the buying end, it's rough. It's really rough, and it's a matter of there's not enough out there selling. Is what it boils down to.
Supply and demand. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's. I mean, it's been a hot topic lately. We've discussed that thoroughly.
I know it's expensive, but if you can buy in bulk, it's always the best way to go. I just cut up a New York strip roast yesterday, and I paid what was it, $7 or $8 a pound for that, and I got 13 steaks out of that. Each one was 12 ounces, and that's not bad.
$7 or $8 a pound for a New York
not
strip
bad at all.
Is a really good price. Yeah. Because my local store, if you buy it individually sliced, New York strip is $14.99 a pound right now at the grocery store. It may be $12.99 a pound at Sam's Club. So
Yeah.
you're getting that. You're coming in at almost half that. So that is good. So yeah, that's a tip
Yep.
I'll have to
Now,
follow.
initially to buy the whole roast, yeah, it's you're looking $100 or better, but look what you get out of it.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna go over and say hi to Tom. I muted you for a minute, so I'm gonna unmute you. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I figured out why you muted me, so it doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out.
Yeah, there's some background noise over there.
Yeah, you know what it is? I'm outside, and sometimes I guess people are still doing their air up in the apartments, so sometimes the air conditionings, the blowers come on. So, but I figured I'd come on, just say hello, because I haven't been on here in a while. So, just to touch base and everything like that. So
yeah. Oh, good. Good to see you. How are you doing? How's your carnivore diet been treating you?
the diet's treating me very well. I'm getting a lot of the people coming on my lives and stuff, so that's actually pretty good. And I actually had 2 lives on Saturday, and I'm having another one tomorrow. I actually had Russ Mitchell on Saturday. I don't know if you saw that or not, but I had him on, and then I had a birthday live. Celebrate my 53rd birthday, and Dave Mack is going to be on my channel tomorrow.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. So I've saw the thumbnails for those. I haven't had a chance to watch those yet.
Yeah, fine.
But yeah, no, that's exciting to have Russ. I got to meet him at the Columbus meetup a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And congratulations on turning 53, and have Dave Mack on. That's a privilege in and of itself. So yeah, those of you who are listening, if you're not already subscribed to the channel called Target Prime Rib, you can go check that out, show him some love, and subscribe and watch his video with Dave Mack tomorrow. That would be great.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, I'm gonna throw you back on mute again for a bit.
No problem. Keep me on there.
Okay. And let's see here. Going back to Goral on Life, been doing off and on for months because of trouble with adaptation. I would say commit. I think you might actually be prolonging adaptation, transition symptoms, withdrawal symptoms by dragging it out. So I think you should commit to 30, 60, 90 days and just kind of like barrel through it. Maybe talk to us exactly what the adaptation troubles you're having are, and we can maybe get a little more specific. Now, with regards to triglycerides, probably a couple comments I could say. I have high triglycerides. So mine have always been around 700 because of my chronic kidney disease. And then when I lost weight rapidly, they went up to like 3,000. So your 308, don't sweat it. Okay. That's kind of where I'm average right now, about in the 300s, and I don't worry about it. Yeah, we'd like to see those come down. There could be various reasons why they go up. If you've been losing a lot of weight rapidly, they might go up. It might be because you're on again, off again, on again, off again. And so, the triglycerides replace glucose. When you're on a carnivore diet, you become fat adapted. That's your energy. And that's why usually it goes down, because you're burning those up all the time. And so the whole commitment thing might actually stay there. Or another issue, you might have something going on, thyroid, liver, or like my case, kidney disease. I wouldn't jump to that conclusion just yet. I would say you probably just need to fully adapt and give it more time. And especially if you've been losing weight, those lipid numbers, the triglycerides and the LDL, tend to go wonky during weight loss and stabilize once you've they level out or return to what their new normal will be once you've reached about 3 to 6 months of being weight stable. So don't panic at a triglyceride of 308. It's definitely something you want to monitor, but it's not something to freak out about just yet. And those are some vague comments because I don't know a whole lot about you right now. So I hope that helps. All right. And before we
Who's
go
that,
on,
doctor?
yeah, before we go on, let's say hi to Paul. How you doing, Paul?
Hey, who's that doctor out of Chicago there? Puts a lot of videos out.
Chicago?
He's on the south.
Is that
The black guy.
Tony Hampton?
Yeah, Tony, yeah. He just put a video out today or yesterday on a lot to do with diarrhea. The 5 reasons why.
Yeah, I watched it.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if those are some of the problems with adaptation, and that could be, we've got a member over on carnivoretalk.com who started their carnivore diet in early August, and they're still struggling with diarrhea. And so we've mentioned a few pointers there, and we can, if that's what you're dealing with too, we can maybe review those also, or definitely go out and check out Dr. Hampton's video. Dr. Hampton videos are very informative, and he's very pleasant to listen to. So if you haven't checked out Dr. Hampton yet, Tony Hampton, he's another YouTuber to go subscribe to and show some support to. Papa Carnivore says, I'm more of a carnivore walker, Donna. I've been averaging 4 miles of walking around at my new job. All right, very good. That doesn't count walking in the morning before I go into work, so I'm walking 5 to 7 miles a day. Awesome. Do you count your steps? I'm just curious. I know a lot of people that have little Fitbits or smartwatches that count their steps, which is an estimate anyway, because it's just a motion sensor for your arm moving like a pendulum. And but it gives you some idea of how much you're moving. I actually can't wear one because when I tile and I'm troweling, every time I move the trowel, it counts it as a step. So it doesn't work for me. Brisket Boomers has 9.9 miles so far today. Very good. Aaron's in the house. How are you doing, Aaron? Good to see you. And Brisket Boomer says it aims for 10 miles a day. Wow, man. I am lazy. You guys are doing excellent. Really setting an example for me as far as setting some goals go. I have a half marathon coming up in Portland, Maine on October 5th. You know, that's another time we ran. We did something called, it was like the color vibe or something like that. It was one of those 5K, which I think is like 3 miles. And we ran it with the kids, and like, when you ran it, there was people on the side watching, and they threw colored chalk at you. You had to wear a white shirt. It was kind of fun, and the kids really enjoyed it. I remember doing that. Grammy G, I'm doing okay. EGFR is still the same at 11.9, but doctor is concerned about creatinine 4.1 and BUN at 86. I think it might be because I eat a very heavy meat-based diet. Yes, that's exactly the case. My EGFR hovers around 12 or 13 when measured with creatinine. My BUN is actually like 100, 120. And it is, all those numbers are inflated because of the meat-based diet. So because the BUN, blood urea nitrogen, and the creatinine are both waste products from the breakdown of protein. So now you're eating a carnivore diet. You're breaking down, eating more protein, you're breaking down more protein. And so those numbers are skewed. They're unreliable. They weren't really reliable to begin with to judge kidney function. They kind of gave you an idea. But that's why it's a EGFR, an estimate. But now the estimate's off because of the diet. And you would probably want to, on your next visit, have them do a cystatin C with EGFR. So that way you have another metric to look at, because the cystatin C is not affected by the protein you eat. And then, of course, there's there's urine tests too. You can do a spot creatinine, spot protein in your urine. You can do a 24-hour urine test, and this can kind of give you some data to work with also. But it sounds like you're right around the same spot I am. You know, looks like stage 5 on paper. I still consider myself stage 4. So does my nephrologist. And I have no symptoms. I don't know about you, but I'm symptom free. So that's good. So yes, tell us if you have any symptoms or not. Brisket, and then Tom disappeared. So that might be my fault because I had him muted because it was kind of loud where he was at. You're more than welcome to come back, Tom. And if you have anything you want to say, that's fine. But remember to go check him out tomorrow. Oh, here he comes. All right. Here he comes. He's back. And he's in a quieter environment. How you doing?
Yes, I fear I go to the studio, so to speak. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, glad to have you back.
Okay.
So let's see here. Aaron just bought a half cow. So how much did that cost you per pound? This place I have here called Dumas sells, they call it sides of beef, and it's half cows, and they're up to $4 something a pound now. I'm just curious. Hello, Cheryl. And is there background noise, or is it my phone? It was Tom had some background noise, so we got that taken care of.
Oh yeah.
All right. And we have a guest. Why vegans? Is veganism is not a diet. It's not just about food or health. It's a principle that humans should live without exploiting animals. Okay, so I can admire, someone's love for other animals. I totally understand people who make that choice for that reason, and if that's the reason why you do that, that's just fine. If that's why you choose the vegan lifestyle. So, like I said, we're completely cool. We're completely cool with that. Our purpose here is not to throw shade at vegans, but we are going to talk about why a vegan diet might fail you. And you might already know this, and then maybe you have some input as to what someone can do to plan for it properly so that it doesn't fail you. So you don't have to feel like you're not welcome here, okay? All right. Papa Carnivore bought 6 big T-bone steaks for $4.99 a pound here in South Florida, and a rack of pork spare ribs for $1.99 a pound. Okay, those are some good deals. Oh, I wonder how fast I'm catching up here. Actually, I'm doing pretty good. Let's see here. Lewis, it's good to see you, Lewis. And I started exploring in August of 2025. This is Gore on Life again. Started with butter, immune system issues, winter 2025. Then tried pig fat, was allergic, January 2025. Beef tallow, February 2025. So I tried beef trimmings. So you were allergic to the pig fat, is what I'm getting from that. That could be. For some people, pork could be an issue. I know people that are sensitive to pork. For some people, it depends on where the pork was sourced and what the pork was fed. So if the pork was fed a lot of grain, then the pork has a high omega-6 profile and is highly inflammatory. If the pork was fed more of a variety or more of a natural diet, then that omega-6 profile is lower, and some people can handle it better. So that's a thing, something to consider. But beef tallow and beef trimmings, those are, most people can tolerate those, so that's good. And for most of us, beef is our staple. Does anyone here have a different type of meat that you would consider your staple, or are we all pretty much probably beef-ocentric in our diet?
Yeah.
Yeah, Giant just had the 85-15, $4.29 a pound.
Mm-hmm.
I got like 15 pounds. They limit you to 4 big packages, and I've scored chuck eye steaks at about $5 a pound. They're marked down because they're aging out. They're got to get rid of them that day.
Mm-hmm.
but I've scored those like 3 out of the last 4 days.
Nice.
So it works out to less than $5 a pound, and they are delicious. They're almost as good as a ribeye, and that's why they call them chuck eye steaks. They're where the rib starts, going the other way, and been very bargain city.
Yeah, maybe. So I got some chuck steak that I didn't care for. It was tough, but maybe that's why I needed to look for chuck eye steak. Maybe there's a difference there.
Chuck eye, it looks. There's not much chuck eye in a chuck roll. There's not much there. Maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 pounds. It's not a lot. And it varies in quality. Just like ribeyes vary in quality from one end to the other. And that's why if you go to a place that cuts the whole rib up and packs them in the store, and they lay them out so you can see them, you can pick out the best. Still paying the same price per pound, but you can pick out the very best ribeyes.
Very nice. Very good. Yeah, beef is the bulk of probably my diet. But I do like to eat what I call it the rainbow of meats, jokingly. So I will have, I still like to eat seafood. I did have chicken at lunch today. And then when I go to the meat store, I'll buy venison, lamb, elk, bison. I mix it up. So, but beef would be like my staple. So when in doubt, I'm eating beef. So that's always in supply.
You just look at a pound of beef. You just look at a pound of beef like it's on sale, ground beef, $4.50 a pound, okay? 85.15. If you went over to the cereal aisle and wanted to get the same amount of nutrients, you'd have to spend probably, I don't know, you couldn't do it. You'd have to spend at least, because where are you going to get the protein? Where are you going to get the fat? There ain't no fat in the cereal aisle. You can't even do it. And, now they're buying the grain. The farmers harvest the grain out west. They're not being paid by the bushel. They're being paid by protein content. The higher the protein, the more money they get for their crop. They're taking the protein into effect because that's where the money is. And so some people are happy and some people aren't so happy.
So, you bring up a good point, and that brings me to like number one on my list about vegan deception. Okay. So, yeah, so we talked about is to get the same amount of nutrients per pound or per dollar, how much vegan food do you have to actually eat? And it is a heck of a lot, barring any kind of supplementation. So one of the misconceptions about a vegan diet is that a vegan diet alone can supply the human body with all the necessary nutrients it needs. This, in fact, is false, not without any kind of supplementation. So sooner or later, your nutrient deficiencies are going to become problematic if you're on a vegan diet, and something that you don't have with a carnivore diet. And just to name a few, the one that we all know about is vitamin B12. So vitamin B12 deficiency is found in probably about 83% of vegans, according to this one resource that I looked up. And a shortage of vitamin B12 can cause very serious health problems. And but you can get an abundance of vitamin B and vitamin B12, obviously, from animal products because that's where it's found. And so that's an essential nutrient that you need that you can't get from a vegan diet, barring supplementation, or at least you can't get enough. Iron is another deficiency that vegans will normally have. They typically only have a third of the iron that they technically need RDA wise, and even the iron that's available in plants isn't the form of iron that the human body prefers, which is heme iron, which is only found in animal products. And then a lot of vegans are deficient in vitamin D. obviously we get this from sunlight, is your primary source, but you can get it from a lot of foods too. And there's a lot of animal foods that include vitamin D. And then along the same vein is your omega-3 fatty acids. You get an abundance of these things from animal foods, especially when it comes to fatty fish and eggs. And vegans will typically have much lower levels of EPA and DHA and DHA compared to those who eat a omnivore or carnivore diet. So that's just number one is a vegan deception, is if they tell you that you can get all the nutrients the human body needs from eating plants alone, that's not true. Or you're gonna have to eat nonstop, like 24 hours a day, and from like a variety of sources. It's just not possible. I mean, go for a hike in your local park, and what is there to eat? I mean, there's nothing.
Stray cats.
Yeah. Stray cats, squirrels, deer, venison. I mean, like, you would, if it wasn't for modern technology, you would have to hunt to survive. And so that's just one carnivore truth and one vegan deception. So Goral on Life continued here. I just saw this. Beef tallow got me very sick, so I was left with beef fat trimmings. I'm 28 and weigh 115. I usually weigh 125. Have been struggling off and on with trimmings because of sensitivity and stress. Okay. So going back up, you started with butter, had issues, then pig fat had issues, then beef tallow and had issues. And then going back to your previous comment way up here. Or you're the one that said you were on again, off again? Yeah, trouble with adaptation, on again, off again. Okay, I'll scroll back down to the current comment. There you go. All right. Okay, that's interesting. Have you tried ghee? Because butter, ghee is actually purified butter, so it actually removes more of the proteins from it. It's like pure butter from fat. Yeah, and then but then normally so is tallow. But tallow you could run into issues with like histamine if you're histamine sensitive. So might have to refer you to like Dr. Barry to ask him a question about those sensitivities, because if you knock off every one of those, butter, tea, bacon, or butter, tallow, bacon fat, and ghee, then I don't know what you're left with. So
what about coconut?
Oil, yeah, coconut oil, olive oil, those are okay because they're especially the coconut oil, because it's a high in saturated fat, low in omega-6 type fat, so we would steer you away from a seed oil for sure, but those are like considered fruit oils. Avocado oil, olive oil, and coconut oil are usually favorable on the keto spectrum of things. So
I would caution
maybe
on the olive oil.
Maybe keto is the way to go for you. If you got some allergies or sensitivities, and you got to incorporate some plants, there's nothing wrong by any means with a keto diet. So
not everybody's cut out for carnivore.
Right. Yeah. Generally, it works for everybody. Doesn't mean it's for everybody. And
you have to have the mindset for it, definitely.
Yeah. And that's why I've tried to be very also, cool about the different types of diets. As long, we believe in meat centric. But if you're doing a ketovore, keto, low carb, or an animal-based diet, that's meat still makes up the bulk of it, and you're still having some plant matter. I mean, that's completely okay. That's completely natural too. Our big shtick is to stay away from man-made foods that you would just not find out in nature. So that's the big thing. So I just had 4 fried chicken thighs, pretty good. I did have some broccoli and butter. That's okay. I'm keto, not carnivore. Don't hate on me. We won't. So, we love our keto brothers and sisters. So that's fine. Every once in a while, I eat a keto meal. So that's okay. Every once in a while, I will have broccoli. Every once in a while, I'll have a piece of fruit. So,
like we say, carnivore is just a spectrum of keto.
Yep.
We're all keto, we're just in different spectrums. So there's nothing to hate on there. For that
Actually,
matter, we don't even hate on the vegans, even if they're wrong.
Here's how my doctor put it. In my patient summary, my doctor said, I have a current ongoing health risk due to my ketogenic diet. Ketogenic diet. That's what she calls it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an ongoing risk due to my ketogenic diet. I have an ongoing health concern. That's what it is. That's exactly what she said. Ongoing health concern due to a ketogenic diet. Yep.
Okay. Well,
Straight from the doc.
She can be concerned, and she can be ongoing concerned, and you can be ongoing enjoying steaks.
I dread Wednesday. I dread Wednesday when I got to see her. I just dread it.
Mm-hmm.
I just, things have fallen apart so bad this last week. I don't know if you know or aware or not, but Abbott Laboratories makes the Libra 2 and 3 CGMs. They just discontinued the 2 and 3 and went to the 2 plus and 3 plus. The rollout's right now. So we were forced. If you were on the 2, you were forced to go to the 2 plus. And same with the 3. Well, guess what? The new app that you have to use has failed. The sensors they're not worthless, and what they found the problem to be is the OS, I guess the operating system or operating software of your phone, gets corrupted by the app. And they programmed this thing so it only works at a certain revision of the OS software. So if your phone's been updated, how at night it automatically updates the software?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you wake up in the morning and you got trouble with your phone now. You may get a blood sugar reading, but it may be high. Or, in my case, my keyboard disappeared. So the keyboard shows up before I can touch it, it disappears. And and like if I'm on YouTube, it'll take the whole screen, shrink it down to a little thumbnail, and stick it down in the corner before I can do anything. So my doctor, it's not just me, it's all over. I talked to the nurse today at the doctor's office. She had 18 patients calling in that their thing didn't work. So we're all switching over to Dexcom.
Okay.
And
that's interesting. You'd think that they would update their software to fix that issue, that incompatibility.
I don't know how fast they can do that though.
Yeah. The app developer, would get on that soon. So
I don't know if that's one person or a team of 10. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not in that industry. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So on the websites I run, it's all me. So although I do have the developers I can go cry to when something breaks and I can't figure it out. Goral on life. There's a part 3 here. They say, I've tried all kinds of steaks. I tried Market Basket, Sam's Club, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, steak, Costco, but get a reaction. Only meat that works is regenerative beef trimmings. And regenerative. Well, so when I think of regenerative, I'm thinking of like from your local butcher, something that's grass fed, and something that might not have been aged as long. I'm still wondering if there's a histamine issue there. So, because that'll be a big deal for some people, is they have to get the freshest beef they possibly can if they have a sensitivity towards it. Anything that's been aged for any bit and beef, most beef is aged, then the histamines grow. And if you have a intolerance towards histamines, then you have trouble with the beef. I've known people that they couldn't do beef at all, but they could do bison. I don't know why, but I know someone on a carnivore diet that they have to eat bison all the time. They can't eat beef,
It
and it's
has to
it's
do with
odd.
the genetics of the animal too. It's people don't understand your meat is a product of what the animal eats and its genetics. Okay,
Mhm.
so I would never buy a side of beef because you don't know what you're getting. Okay, is it a good cow or a bad cow? Okay, sometimes even the hamburger's tough. And what people don't understand is, let's say you're buying organic, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Well, guess what? Is it really that? So you say you got a farmer that's doing that, right? So he's raising all his forage crops organically. And he has a drought. He's out of forage crops. He's out of hay. He's out of grass. He has to now go buy organic hay, which is almost impossible to even find in many parts of the country. And when you buy it, it's 4 to 5 times more expensive. So what do you think he does? He gets to a point where he just has to short himself out and he just sells off the beef. It's gone. And he takes a loss in profit because he didn't get the thing up to market weight. And it's, if you're a cattleman and you study this out for a while, and I learned this growing up from local farmers that I was surrounded by. And this one guy, he spent about 3 to 5 years improving his forage crops. And he was working with Cornell University on it. And he got his grass hay so good, what used to be 300-pound carcass hanging in the meat locker, in just 5 years, his average steer was going 420 pounds. These are a smaller breed of cattle, so the numbers sound small, but he increased his productivity by 33% through better pasture grass.
All right.
It's not just, a lot of people think because they're a medical doctor, they're going to be a farmer. There's a lot to learn and a lot to know. You just don't graze them out there on whatever. It don't work that way.
Well, well, yeah. You got to be aware of who you're buying from. Now, wouldn't you think that you would have a better shot of getting a better beef if you bought from a local guy where you could go see his operation and see what he was doing versus just buying from Wally World and getting what's being brought up from South America?
Your chances are much better. Okay.
Exactly.
And now you take the guy on just a few acres in Ithaca, New York, and he raises he raises the Dexter cows. And the great thing about Dexters, doesn't matter how old they are, doesn't matter what sex they are, they taste great.
Oreos.
And he grows a great beef, and he's got 2 years of hay in his barn. Hay doesn't spoil.
Everybody I know that is raising large amounts of beef, they have their own hay and they store it up for long term, because they've got to get through the winters. They got to get through the winters, now me.
And they got to get through the drought. Yeah.
Yeah. And those happen, but they store up for the winter more than they do anything else. And, now I raise my own. I've got 2 in the locker right now. I'm fixing to go pick up tomorrow. They was both about 1,200 pounds when I took them in. I don't know what their hanging weight is yet. I'll find that out when I get there and pick them up tomorrow. But my processing cost was about $660. And of course, my wife keeps track of the feed costs and what all we put into them, but we had to feed them through one winter. Now I don't raise my own hay anymore. I just I buy from sources that I know, and I know good hay when I see it. I can't tell you whether it was sprayed with pesticides or not, but I know good hay when I see it. Yeah, the whole thing of buying from a farmer or buying from the grocery store. If I have my druthers, I'd rather buy from the farmer. And
Oh
even if
yeah,
it's been in,
yeah.
even if it's been in a feedlot, and there's a big misnomer when it comes to grass fed, and grain fed. People get it in their heads, or they think that grain fed means the cow lived on grain its whole life, when it didn't. It did for the last 3 months of its life. They are grass fed. Nobody can, grain is cheap enough to feed, but you can't feed enough cheaply, through their whole lifetime. Because you're going to feed out a steer or cow anywhere from 18 months to 2 years. If they're heavily grain fed, you can get by with 16 months. But grass fed, you're going 18 months to 24 months to feed them out. And the grain finished, it'll run up your costs way too much if you try to do it long term. So all cows are raised on grass to some extent, some more on forage being the harvested crops of grain fields, where they've harvested the crop and then they got the silage left over. They will feed those. You go up to Kansas, look at the Kansas beef market, and that's what they're feeding up there, is a silage from harvesting the crops. And they put out some mighty fine beef. But like I said, the misnomer is that they're grain fed all their life. They're not. They're grain fed the last 3 months of their life. And unless you are having a histamine reaction to that, unless it's something that's bothering you, you don't have to worry about it being that stinking clean. It's not that big a deal. I fed grain to my cattle in the last couple of months, and I didn't sock it to them. I just fed them some, and I'll see how the marbling come out. It was more of an experiment to just see how they put on fat. But
How many do you raise?
I'll get a couple each year and raise them
2?
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's times I'll buy 5 or 6 calves, depending on what's going on, what the market's doing, and I'll sell those. I'll raise them up and sell them. I have to raise animals to keep my agricultural exemption, and so I generally have something. I'll have cattle, goats, sheep. I raise them all. I raise chickens. I have my own eggs. I basically, everything I eat is either what I've raised or what I've hunted, because I'm also a hunter. I hunt a lot. And so I very seldom have to buy meat from the store. Now, here lately, I ran out of venison. I put 4 deer in the freezer and went through them in about 4 months. I mean, they didn't last long at all, because I love venison. I'll eat it just about every meal if I can get away with it.
You ever can it with beef fat?
No, I haven't. I've heard of it, but I haven't done it. But when I cook it in beef fat. I make my own tallow.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In fact,
All right.
when I butcher a lamb, a goat, a beef, the processor, I tell them any fat not used in the burger comes back to me. I keep all my own fat, all the suet, all the trimmings. I want every bit of it back that doesn't go into the hamburger, because I'm going to make my own tallow. I'm very self-sufficient when it comes to this kind of stuff, and
Cool.
so just about everything I eat is something that I raise. Now, here lately, I've had to buy some beef, some hamburger, and some roast, simply because I'm out. I'm just out. But that's fixing to change as of tomorrow. Tomorrow, man. So I plugged my freezers in, getting ready for these cows. I was going to go pick them up today, and one of my freezers ain't working. In the move, when we moved down here, we jarred something loose in the cooling system, and it's blocked, and one of them ain't cooling. So I had to go buy a new freezer today, and that just got delivered this afternoon. So
Do you have temperature alarms on all your freezers?
no.
Oh, see, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't.
Well,
I wouldn't.
well, I
I wouldn't do
understand.
that.
I get that. I understand that. So I've got lights on them. If the lights ain't on, I know they're off. And
Okay.
there was nothing in the freezers. The freezers are
Yeah,
empty.
yeah.
They're empty right now. From the move, I've got 3 freezers. My stand-up freezer is in the house in the utility room, and it's the only one that's got any meat in it. But some people, like I said, when it comes to that beef, some people really go a little overboard on this stuff when it comes to, grass fed. They're all grass fed, but they're not all grass finished. Some of them are grain finished, but like I said, if you're not having an issue physically with it, it's not that big a deal.
It's just you have to cook it different.
All right.
Great. Yep. Cool. That's
Lee
way
ma-
cool. Congrats.
Lee makes a comment here. It kind of gets us back to our topic of conversation for the evening. He says, to be fair, some vegans, it is about food or health. So remember, we had the vegan earlier that said it's about the treatment of animals. So some vegans, it is about food or health. They aren't all the same anymore than the rest of us. So why vegan doesn't speak for them all probably means, well, so one vegan doesn't speak for them all. And so a lot of people choose veganism because of their love and compassion for animals, which is an admirable quality for sure. And then other people choose veganism for the health benefits, and that is also a very noble thing. So again, the point of this discussion here is not to diss on vegans or veganism if that's your lifestyle and if that's the label you choose to apply to you. We just want to point out some potential dangers that can be mitigated with a well thought out approach. This is going to usually require some supplementation. So we had a point we talked about earlier, that a vegan diet cannot supply everything the human body needs by itself. Another vegan lie or vegan deception is that vegans are healthier than meat eaters. And that's not the case. So now if you take a meat eater that also eats Snickers and Oreos and Doritos and once you pop, you can't stop, whatever those things are called, and all this man-made junk food, a vegan's probably going to be healthier than them, bar none, just because they're eating all this man-made junk processed food. But however, a vegan still, a lot of them are eating man-made processed junk food too. Refined grains actually makes up the bulk of a lot of vegans' diets. And so that means bread, that means sugar, and these things are going to cause spikes in blood sugar, weight gain, and insulin resistance, especially over the long period of time. Fatty liver disease and heart disease, obesity, and diabetes can also come from the overconsumption of refined grains and refined sugar. And I want to emphasize refined. Okay. Some man-made vegan products are going to be full of trans fats and vegetable oils, which are highly inflammatory, and those lead to oxidative damage. So if you're eating a vegan diet that's made of man-made processed foods, you're probably not doing yourself any favors. Okay. Now, if you're trying to eat all natural, from stuff you can actually find growing on a tree or pulling out of the ground or something like that, and then hasn't been through the factory and placed in a package and sits on a shelf and can't go bad, you're probably doing all right. Especially if you take supplementations too. So vegans who actually do experience health benefits do so for a couple of reasons. One, they eliminate processed foods, and that's probably the big one. But you still run in the danger of your diet generally being low in nutrition, and you need supplementation. So that's why if you have a vegan diet and you've experienced benefits, it's because you cut out the man-made junk. It's not necessarily because you eliminated meat. So because the carnivore truth here is that the nutrients in meat is super good for humans, 100% bioavailable, and just rich, abundant. You know, it's in plant foods, there's vitamins and minerals that you can get a little bit out of. You got anti-nutrients to try and block that. But in meat, you don't have that. It's so super nutritious. It's a superfood. So can you get by on a vegan diet? Sure. Is a vegan diet healthier than a carnivore diet? No. Is a vegan diet healthier than the standard American diet? Yes. So there's some nuance there. Does anybody want to add anything to that?
Well, you look what Bart K says. Over time, over a 5-year period, something like 84 or 85% of all vegetarians give it up for health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It put my son-in-law in the hospital. He was strict vegetarian, I would call it, okay? He ate seafood. I don't know what you call that, but anyhow. And he wound up in the back of an ambulance in the hospital. Doctor came out and said, you need to eat beef. You need to eat 1 pound of beef. You need to eat a 1/4 pound burger every other day, minimum. And he didn't share the details or whatever. But then like a couple years after that, I get a phone call. How are you eating? What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, went to a Thanksgiving dinner at his house, and he had a niece. She was 18 years old, off to college, and she was a vegetarian. Let's just call it that. I don't know what the difference is. And she was the darling of the party. All the attention. Oh, such a wonderful thing you're doing, save the animals, save the planet, blah, blah, blah. And I was Mr. Evil over there eating a ribeye, okay, that I cooked on the grill. And I was Mr. Evil. I was going to die, vitamin deficiency. And that's what my doctors always say, you're vitamin deficient because you're on a meat and egg diet. And and then, my LDL is only 160, okay? And I don't worry about it, and I'm allergic to statins. God reached down and blessed me. He said, Paul's going to be allergic to statins. He'll never be able to take them. And I never have been able to take them. I have a bad reaction, and I wind up doubled up on the floor. So I've never had this bad effects of statins. They tried putting them on me 30 years ago. And they go, well, we got a shot now. I said, I'm sorry, I don't do injections like that. I said, I don't do it. And I said, thanks for offering, but I said, it's too new. I said, I just brushed it off, But I think Bart K's got pretty good statistic. I don't know where he got it from, but it's like at least 85%. They fail in the vegetarian diet because of health, not that they just I gotta have a steak. They just it's just like maybe I overtrust Bart K, but so far I've not found any time he's ever said anything deceiving or lied about.
So Paul, when your doctor says you're vitamin deficient, how is he determining this? Is he taking blood and doing a blood test on you or what?
I've been diabetic. I've been a type 2 diabetic for 33 years and not under good control, okay? And guess what? And I don't mean to offend anybody here, but he looked at me and he says, your kidneys are phenomenal. You get the most beautiful kidney numbers I've ever seen. And I don't know anything about blood work and kidneys. I don't know anything about it. He run that test and he looked at it and he goes, man, you got liver, heart, and kidneys. You got beautiful organs. I said, well, thank you. And he says, it's the only good thing I got going for me right now. And I cannot eat carbs. I ate 5 grams of carbohydrate. My blood sugar went from about roughly 100 to 200 in less than 10 minutes on 5 grams of carbohydrate. I can't touch this stuff. I just can't. I think one thing I'm going to add, I'll tell you what, I'm nervous as hell. I'm scared as hell. I got to go see my doctor on Wednesday morning. And one thing I'm going to ask is, As far as I can tell, I'm responding more as a type 1 diabetic than a type 2. I'm probably a 1.5, like we talked about last week. And I would appreciate at least listening to a endocrinologist to see maybe he could offer some guidance when to eat, how to eat, or something. I don't know. But, you know, if you're all familiar with Richard, what was his name? Bernstein, the father of type 1 diabetes. He just passed away in April. He was 95 years old, was still working every day, seeing patients. He's a type 1 diabetic himself. Had an A1C of like 5. And all I know to do is eat beef butter, and eggs. I don't like bacon. I just lost taste for it. Once in a while, if somebody else makes it, and it tastes good, I'll have some. But I don't know what I see the rest of my life is ground beef and eggs 95% of the time in butter, and that's it. There's not going to be chopped onion, or there's not going to be any carbs. You know, I eat as close to 0 carbs as I can, and probably with a little bit in the egg, a little bit in the coffee, and a little bit in the meat. I'm probably getting 5, 6, 7 carbs a day. I don't know. You can't. I don't think you can really be 0 carb unless you're fasting. That's just
Yeah,
my opinion, you know.
you can't.
And they say coffee has 2. I don't know. And maybe some do and some don't. I don't know, but that's what the rest of my life looks like. I'm not upset about it. I ate enough carbs in my first 65 years to make up for everything. Okay, I was a diehard carboholic. If I
Same
drank
thing.
booze like I ate carbs, I would have been dead 25 years ago. I would have never survived. I didn't eat 1 chocolate chip cookie or 2. When my mother baked chocolate chip cookies, I ate 6, 7, 8 as they came out of the oven. I had 3 chocolate chip cookies in my lunchbox.
Mm-hmm.
My mother couldn't cook, but she could bake. My mother made 6 apple pies 3 times a month. That's how many apple pies we had in our house.
I was addicted to, I couldn't stop eating. There's no such thing as leftovers. I'd go to a restaurant, and if the family didn't finish, I would finish everybody's food, because you know what, I paid for it, and I sure ain't letting it go to waste. The amount that I could eat was inhuman. It was crazy.
That was the
At
biggest
my
mental.
Yeah.
at my new job, they have a cafe, like a little cafe there inside the furniture store. It's called the KC Cafe, and they bake cookies, fresh baked chocolate chip cookies, all different ones, chocolate chip cookies, sugar cookies, all these things, and it smells like a bakery, like that, those like Otis Spunkmeyer type, cookies. And I have not broken, because I know if once I have that one cookie, that I won't, I can't. It's like kryptonite. It's like heroin. You take one shot and you're addicted again. So I just know. I walk by them, I look at them, and I just point to them and I go poison, and I just always do that, poison. I mean, I know I can't have it. It's very difficult, but there's certain things I gotta walk away from it, or else I'm gonna fall down a very slippery slope.
It all looks like
remember
manure to me.
Huh?
It all looks like manure to me.
Well, you and Rick, the duck man,
Yeah, it doesn't even look edible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how far I've gone into carnivore. Is that doesn't look like food to me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, when I see a big old T-bone steak, and then I look at a cookie and I go, man, oh man, there's no comparison. You know what I mean? But it still tempts me. I can't lie. I mean, I'm not at that
my
stage. I'm not
environment.
at that stage, where I look at it and say, it still tempts me.
I mean, my environment, right?
Yeah, you live above a chocolate shop
Not
or
only do I live
bakery.
above a chocolate shop, but I work in a convenience store that has about 95% of candies, cookies, and all.
The only thing you can eat. There's only two things you can eat in a convenience store, as far as I'm concerned. One is hot dogs, and the other is beef jerky. Other than that, I can't find one thing in that store that you could eat. You know what? Am I
Yeah.
missing something?
No. I mean, Quick Trip doesn't have hot dogs, so I can't actually have hot dogs. But
Well, some of them have those little hot
yeah, you're
dogs on
talking
the
about
rollers.
7-Elevens and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like or
See-
sausage. Some have hot dogs and
Even
little
the-
sausages.
I won't
Some of them
even
have
eat the jerky.
cheese. They have a cooler where you can buy like string cheese or different
Yeah.
types of cheese. Or
Yeah.
Okay, well,
cheese
then
and meat
that-
combined in the same
I
package.
can do
you know.
cheese. I can do, but I still watch out for the ingredients. So even that, it's
Yeah,
still
'cause you
pretty.
can look at the store bought
Really,
jerky.
really, the
They're
coffee and
loaded with sugar.
salters are the only thing I could really have.
Well, and some have those like breakfast sandwiches, and you could if you take the bun
bread
off
off.
or the bagel off or the biscuit off. Yeah, you could pull the egg out and the bacon or whatever. You know, if they have those breakfast sandwiches, if you just ate the middle part, But even the cheese
it
that's in
does.
those things, guys, that's not real cheese, man. That stuff's made with seed oil, like Kraft. It's like Kraft processed cheese. If you've ever looked at the ingredients on that,
Yeah, it
that's
depends on the
like
cheese.
straight up poison. That cheese.
Like American cheese slices, I won't touch. Those
Yeah,
are
you know
individually
what I'm
wrapped.
saying. Like
That's not cheese.
Yeah, but that's what
Yeah.
they put in those breakfast sandwiches, guys. It's
Yeah,
not real cheese.
Oh,
I
well,
can
I don't eat.
attest to
I don't eat
that.
breakfast sandwiches. So. The only time
Well,
I get
along
that
with-
cheese is if I go to Wendy's and I'll have a Baconator with no bun. I know I'm gonna get that cheese with that, but it's just a one-off thing once in a while.
I mean, the best thing Thomas can do is bring his own food. Yeah, there's nothing there for Thomas.
Hey, for 4 hours a shift, I'm not bringing any food. I'm just gonna wait until I get home.
You just fast. Just fast.
The thing
Wait
with
Yeah.
it,
4 hours. If you eat before you go, you shouldn't be hungry.
I'm not. I eat right before I go, and then depending on when I go, and then I eat after I get back home. That's it. You know, if I do early in the morning, I just wait until I am done. If I do the 6 to 10 shift, I just wait until like 12 o'clock to eat anyway. So I just eat without, you know.
So we're at the top of the hour, and so I just wanted to remind anybody watching that you too can join us on the screen. I have room for 10. Right now we have 7. So I got 3 empty chairs here at the table. They're more than welcome to click the link that's pinned at the top, and it'll open up in your browser. Use your own microphone and camera on whatever device you have, and you can join us here on screen and talk to us face to face. We would love to have you. I do want to take a moment to say hi to Scott. He's been on for a while, and we haven't had a chance to hear him speak yet. How are you doing, Scott?
Doing great. How about you guys?
I want to make a plea. Where are the ladies? How come we have a men's club? We got a sausage club here.
I thought no
I
girls
agree
were
with
allowed.
Peter.
No, girls
No
are allowed.
girls.
Sometimes we
wanna
have.
girls. Where's the ladies?
I know Erin says it's another injection day, so she's preoccupied. Rock and Keto Amy was driving. Maybe she'll jump on when she gets home. She said she was listening. So
She
Oh.
sits
Yeah.
in our choir practice too.
yeah,
So.
I don't know. I don't know why we have none of the girls.
So you know,
none of
Amy.
the sisters have showed up.
Amy has this. What is it? The Carnivore Avengers. So we have. What are you, Thomas? What's your name of your thing?
Captain Prime Rib.
So you're Captain Prime Rib, and then we have Bacon Girl, Butter Girl, or Butter Woman,
Yeah.
Butter
yeah.
Woman, Bacon. What? Bacon Girl.
Bacon. It might be Bacon Girl. I'm not sure if it's Bacon Girl or Bacon Woman. Butter Woman.
And then they're creating one for me, a T-bone
and then
Titan.
they have 2 other ones. One like Eggatostic or something like that, and then Zen, which that's Feral Grandma. I have no idea who the egg person is. I never
Well,
seen
you heard what mine's going to be, right, Thomas?
Yeah, T-bone
Titan.
Titan. Yeah, okay.
T-bone Titan.
Yes.
I met a
I hope-
carnivore
I
lady
hope-
at the
I-
grocery store today.
I actually hope you win. You know.
Yeah.
of course, if Rick finally gets his picture in there, hopefully he'll win too. Because I have, Duckman and Iguana Boy with him and Milton.
Nice. I made a comment of like Sergeant Striploin or Sergeant Sirloin one time. So, but back when it was originally being discussed. So, I don't know. All right, yeah. So I've yet to get my, I've yet to submit what I need to submit to get my Avenger thingy made.
Yeah, you just have to send her a picture, basically.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. So if you want to join us on screen, go ahead. Kelly, how are you doing? Before I go on to the next question, say hi to you.
I'm doing pretty good.
All right. Very good.
Can y'all hear me good? Because I know last night I was posted in an interview with Amy, and I think she had computer issues. I wanted to make sure if it wasn't on my end.
I can hear you just fine. Yeah.
I hear you.
No, she had a problem with her laptop. She has to buy a new laptop.
Yeah, it was on her end.
She said her laptop is crashing, something with the motherboard. There's nothing you can do when it's that, she needs a new one. I think it's like, she said it was like 10 years old. It's an Acer.
All right. So go back to some comments here that I starred. Obviously, we're getting too behind to put them all on the screen and comment on all of them, but there's some I do want to pay attention to. We were talking about kidney numbers earlier with Grammy G. Me and her are both in the same boat as far as around the same stage of kidney disease. It says her statin C was 3.54, but I feel fine. And so, yeah, so that's a little worse off than mine currently. I think you sound like you're stage 5 regardless of how you look at it. Mine a year ago had gotten bad. The worst I ever got was 3.3. That put my EGFR with cystatin C down to 17, but it has since rebounded.
It's
and
a good girl, Daddy's girl.
I'm down to 2.52, and that now gives me an EGFR of 24, which is the highest that I've had. So you also comment, I'm so confused that the recommended way of eating for a kidney healthy diet is very vegan and high carbs. No matter what you say, so many people say that that's what you need to eat, and that it's not the doctor saying it, but it's all these kidney groups I'm in. And yeah, you're probably talking about Reddit and stuff. And so here's the thinking.
You good baby? Are you good girl?
I explained this in my video here. The reason they say that is because they rely on this creatinine number and the EGFR that's calculated using it. So when you eat more protein, your creatinine goes up, and therefore your EGFR goes down. And doctors will just look at that number on paper and go, "Oh, your kidneys are getting worse." But if you stop eating meat and start eating less protein and more of a vegan diet, then you have more, your kidneys can catch up on excreting that creatinine, which makes your EGFR go up. And then doctors go, "Yay, look at your kidneys are doing so good." But it actually has nothing to do with the kidneys getting better, or it might not. Okay, it might not have anything to do with it, because what's just happening is if you eat no protein or low protein, your kidneys have more time to catch up on excreting the protein waste that's flowing around in your bloodstream. When you eat more protein, you create more waste, and it builds up in your bloodstream. And so when you read that creatinine number and you look at this estimate, that's why they look at these numbers. They're like, "Oh my gosh, look, you're eating all this meat and your kidney numbers are getting worse." And then when you stop eating all this meat and you start eating all this vegan stuff, they're like, "Oh, look, your numbers are getting better." And in their heads, they think that means that the vegetarian diet is better, because, "Oh, look, your kidneys are improving." Your kidneys aren't improving. Your kidneys are just, the load you're putting on them is less now. That's all it is. So that's why they say that in the kidney groups. My advice is to eat only what is natural, God made, Mother Nature made. So if you can hunt it, milk it, pluck it off a vine or a fig tree, it's probably fair game. If it's gone through a factory and can sit wrapped up in a plastic wrapper for months and months and months and never go bad, you probably don't want to eat it. That's my just general rule of thumb. So I think if you eat what a human would naturally have found to eat before modern technology and greed has taken over society, I think you would fare very well. So that's my opinion on that. Brisket Boomers says, my friend from San Francisco visited. She's been vegan her whole life. She's 78 and seems very healthy, maybe slightly weak, but healthy. She read Lierre Keith's Vegetarian Myth, but is still vegan. And this brings us back to our topic. And again, we're not saying that a well-planned, well-crafted vegan diet isn't sustainable. It is. The problem, the key word there is well-planned, well-regulated, and the only reason it is because of modern technology, because you can't do it without supplementation. But that brings us back to one of our topics. So one of our topic, of course, is vegan deception and carnivore truth. So another vegan deception is that if you look at the human body, it is clearly designed to eat plants. That is an outright lie. Okay, that is not true. Vegans will say that humans are herbivores by nature, and that our bodies will have a hard time digesting animal protein, and nothing could be further from the truth. If you actually study our digestive tract, it's very comparable to that of carnivores and scavengers, almost identical. And you can't, a lot of people will point at the teeth, but that doesn't work either, because over time we made use of tools and stuff. The biggest proof, of course, is in how our bodies make full use of the nutrients found in meat. So everything, when you eat meat, almost everything is absorbed. That right away is contrary to the lie that we have a difficult time digesting protein, or that meat rots in your stomach. It doesn't rot in your stomach. It's mostly entirely absorbed. Almost everything you eat in a meat product is put to use by the body somehow, and there's very little waste. And the fact that a lot of the things that you need, these omega-3s and the vitamin B12s and some other nutrients, are only available in meat products, is just more proof that you are by design meant to eat meat. So yes, of course, you can figure out a way, thanks to modern technology, to make a vegan diet sustainable. But to say that you're not designed to eat meat, that's a deception. And the carnivores actually have the truth when it comes to how the human body is designed. So you just got to dig deeper and study a little more.
Yeah, I agree. You can. I think the thing that gets lost in either whatever is what you're not eating. I think that we lose sight of what we're not eating. The carnivore diet is great. It's been beautiful for me. But if I had went from the trash diet I was on to a solid vegan diet, I'm almost sure I would have had some health benefits from it, just because I've removed all the crap and the processed food, the sugars, the refined sugars, and all that stuff. So I think if we lead off with what we're not eating anymore, that's more telltale than actually what we are eating. I mean, I'm a carnivore guy now. I don't ever see it changing. 18 months I've had just incredible health benefits from it, most by accident. But yeah, I think once you remove everything, then you can get healthier. And whether the vegan is sustainable with supplementation, I mean, that's debatable. As soon as one person has a study, I'm a big fan of Bart K. He says 84%. But then you can click the next video and the next scientist will tell you why it's sustainable but I know what's working for me. I think that's where you have to do is just figure out what we're not eating and what works for us as an individual, and then move forward from there. And then just come to the forum to exchange ideas.
Yeah. And so that's why I emphasize on well thought out, well planned, and thanks to supplementation and modern technology, it can actually happen. I mean, there are people out there who have adopted a vegan way of life in their teens, and they've lived into their 80s and 90s, and plants didn't kill them, so.
Yeah, but can I point one thing out, Bob?
And
I
they,
can tell you right now, I know a lot of what I'm going to put quotation marks around vegan or vegetarians that, first of all, they take massive amounts of supplements. I can tell you right now.
right. Yes.
Right.
That's what I was getting at. Mhm.
But I'm going to
But
tell you, many of those, if not all of those long-term vegan or vegetarians, are closet meat eaters. You don't know. There's no way to check these people when they're at home by themselves, and I can guarantee you, there is some fish, there is some eggs, there is something. Okay, they might not be eating red meat, but I'm telling you, as far as I'm sitting here, a lot of them are lying to people that they are. Oh, I am perfect, and they go home and they're having some fish, they're having some, eggs, something.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm
I
just
agree
telling
with
you,
that.
there's
Yeah.
almost no way you could do it long term like that. I mean, without any meat whatsoever, even with supplements, I think it would be very hard.
well,
Very
I have a
hard.
question. Let's just say you decide you're going to become a vegetarian or whatever, and you need these supplements. Okay, how do you know where to go buy good supplements? How do you? I'm sure some of that stuff out there is not really good, and some of it's probably far superior. And how do you know what you're getting?
Well, I mean, this kind of knowledge gets around. I mean, because you're going to associate with people that do the same thing, and so you're going to learn what's this. You're going to have a large group of people say this is a quality product and this product's junk. So I mean,
let,
it's
me
the
give
same
you a.
thing, just in reverse.
Let me give you a real life story of just one person. My sister-in-law. She's married to my brother. She's a wonderful lady. She's wonderful, great mother, great wife, just really into fitness. Okay. She used to actually do trapeze. You know how hard that is, how physically demanding.
Oh shit!
She had a 6-pack abs. I mean, she was like insane. But she's been like a lifelong, I call it vegetarian. Okay. So she will eat eggs, but she tells people that, oh, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. You know what, though? The more I probed in a little deeper, and I've actually seen what she eats a lot of fish. Okay. So she is eating meat. She's eating like salmon. She's having a lot of eggs. Okay. And she is having cheese. So I'm just telling you, that's just one person. And she goes around telling people that she's pretty much a vegetarian. Okay.
Pretty much, but she's really a pescatarian.
Well,
Yeah.
now she is saying that she's a pescatarian. But for years she was saying she was a vegetarian. But she's been eating the fish and the eggs, and she's none of that's ever changed.
Well,
So-
I mean, so there are people out there that they're going to say that they're vegetarian,
Right?
Because it's trendy,
Right?
I get that.
And
You
yeah,
know,
no, I
there
mean,
are people
I
out
get
there,
it.
but
And she shouts-
I'm not gonna deny that there's people out there who are honestly live by their convictions to not eat an animal
here's the
product
thing.
and live a healthy old age.
No,
They
I
do
mean
exist.
she tries really hard to get the organic fruits and vegetables in shops at Whole Foods and Sprouts and all those stores. You know what I mean? I mean, she tries really hard, and she is in really good shape. I mean, she really is. But she does eat fish, eggs, cheese. I mean, there's some stuff in there, is all I'm saying. And it quite a bit, I'm not saying it's a huge, but, it's quite a bit. It's enough that she's healthy.
Well, yeah, and at the same time, there's those of us who are carnivores who still admit to eating the occasional vegetable, fruit, still use seasonings. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's the occasional plant matter. So it's the
It's no
same way
problem.
the other way around.
Listen,
So-
I did really well on keto before I went ketovore and then carnivore. I lost quite a bit of weight and healed a lot of things on keto, but what really took it to the next level and got rid of my depression, anxiety, ADHD, and all that's the really hardcore stuff. That really, it could only be done on the carnivore to take it to the next level.
And for me, that's accurate too. But there are still examples of people who have ate a lifelong vegan diet, and they might have depression. They might take pharmaceuticals. They might take supplements. They might supplement protein. They might not even realize that the protein supplements they're taking might go back to milk or some sort of animal product. But and some are very careful about that, making sure that the only protein they get is made from like beans and plants and stuff like that. So, you know, the point is it's that vegan diet is not natural, and we've gone over 3 points so far to prove why. And if it wasn't thanks to modern technology, you couldn't be a vegan hundreds of years ago and be healthy. It just would be impossible.
Well,
It is possible today.
I don't
It is
think
possible today.
I don't know that you can survive long term without supplementing B12.
That's I've said that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
With supplementation, you know,
Yeah.
a well-crafted vegan diet, which means taking supplements, is sustainable today. But you have to take supplements.
Yeah, and
It
it's
hasn't
not
been that
just
long ago. It hasn't been that long ago since there was a young lady that died who was a hardcore vegan and didn't take supplements, and she died because of her diet.
Right. Right.
If you do not take the supplements, you are not going to get the nutrition that you need, because your body cannot absorb what little nutrition is in plant matter. It just can't do it. We're not built that way.
So
It's
you'll be
just
part of that.
And you know, and I'm no expert on carnivore, vegan, vegetarian, but here's what I know. Prior to going carnivore, my doctors, because of my Crohn's disease and my heart condition, my doctors had me on an almost straight grain and vegetable diet. And I'm going to tell you what, I grew my own vegetables. I had a beautiful garden, and I grew heirloom vegetables. I didn't grow the modern GMO vegetable. I grew heirloom vegetables. I tried to keep things as natural and old school as I can. And the diet they had me on was killing me, literally killing me. And when I went carnivore, within 30 days of strict carnivore, my Crohn's was gone. The IBS that I'd had for over 30 years was gone. And my heart started to improve. In 1 year's time, my heart had improved to the point where I was no longer, my cardiologist had taken me off all my medications. I'm 69 years old, and I am no longer on any medications whatsoever. And now, 2 years later, I don't have any heart palpitations, no PVCs, no nothing, where I was having 15 to 20 a day that would take my breath away and make me think, is this the one where I'm keeling over? Now, if I go, it was getting less and less. A week, I'd have 3 or 4. 2 weeks, I'd have 3 or 4. Now, I'll go a whole month and I go, wait a minute, I've gone this whole month and I haven't felt anything. I just continually to improve. So this tells me that going vegan was not sustainable for me. It was killing me. But eating meat healed me. I have cured 16 different things in my body that were being destroyed by eating vegetables and grains.
Hey, Jeff.
And now I eat a strictly meat diet. Yo.
Did you see my interview with Carrie?
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No, I haven't. Not yet.
Oh, so my first interview with Carrie, I took a piece of paper and literally just stream of consciousness wrote a list of all the things that were, I think it was 27 items. Now, since then, I've added at least another 8 or 9 of things that I fixed, so if you've never seen the video, if you go to Homestead How,
I'll look it up.
And the title of the
the
title on the thumbnail of the video is it's lost 101 pounds. That's the title on the thumbnail. Okay.
Yeah, I subscribe to Carrie, and he's interviewed me as well.
Yeah,
but here's the thing that I've noticed in the carnivore community. I see more vegans and vegetarians coming to carnivore. I don't see any carnivores going back to vegan or vegetarian. Now, I do see some that do have to reintroduce some plants back into their diet.
Yeah, there's no
But I
problem with
don't
that.
see anybody going back full vegan or full carnivore.
Listen, for some people, I'm convinced that they do need to put back in some stuff. They can't do
Yes,
the all meat. It's just for whatever
I agree.
reason they can't do it. It doesn't agree with them.
And we're all different.
Rick was talking about his friend who I think she was a vegan, whatever, and tried carnivore and just it wasn't working out and introduced back. And I would say now they're meat based, call it whatever you want, but they're keto or low carb, somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And you know
right.
what? But they're healthy though. I mean, they're doing
But-
great.
Because they got rid of all the processed stuff.
Yeah.
They're eating healthier. Now,
Yeah.
you know, the thing is, we're all different. Nobody can say that we're the same, so we all have to eat the same.
Right.
We're all different. So some people, because of genetics, because of their heritage, they are going to have to eat something different than somebody. You know, like for instance, okay, when it comes to milk or dairy products, not everybody can eat it because they're lactose intolerant. I come from a region of the world where dairy was very common. I'm 75% German and 25% Scandinavian. And so my genetics are such that I can handle dairy with no problems. And I appreciate that, Lord, because I like dairy. There's going to be some people genetically that can't handle certain foods.
Well,
and so they're going to have to eat different. I get that. And that's cool. You know, you have to find what works for you.
You got to find your niche.
Well, I can tell
Yeah, I
you this.
totally agree on that. That's the individuality is huge because I drink milk. I can tell one thing that milk does with me is if I were during my weight loss, it would create a stall for me, and I identified that early on. But you know, I still drink milk. I mix my protein, creatine powders in the milk, leave it in the refrigerator, swig here, swig there throughout the day. And milk doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I like it, no issues. I'm probably, I would say, one of the things I think we probably all together, 10 of us get in this room, I think we'll have 9 different carnivore definitions.
Exactly.
So I think that it just varies person to person. For me, I'd say I'm strict carnivore. I do add whey protein and I do add creatine just because of offset of trying to gain muscle as I lift. But I've lost 95 pounds. And like Jeff was saying, I stumbled, well, like a lot of you guys probably had thought process into your diet, going to carnivore and whatnot. I didn't. My son lost 12 or 14 pounds. And I was like, he told me, I just eat meat, salt, and water. And I was like, that's easy. Anybody can do that. And so I started doing it. And then I lost 30 or 31 pounds in the first 30, 31, 32 days. And I was like, man, it's nothing to this. And then just sheer coincidence thinking, I'm like, I haven't taken any of my medicine. I have an autoimmune disease, which is called neuromyelitis, which is the same thing as multiple sclerosis. And 6 weeks in, I wasn't taking medicine. It was like I was just come home from work and I was like, wow, you know, this week I didn't take any medicine for the prednisone or the gabapentin or Neurontin, any of that. And then 8 weeks, I'm like, just a coincidence. And then by that 9th and 10th week, you know, I haven't taken any medicine since May of 24. I go back this month, into this month, and it's probably going to be the conversation where I have my last infusion that I've had since 2018. So for me, carnivore is huge. Do I think I could have improved with vegan? Yeah, because it was just not because vegan's any better. It's because of the crap diet I was on prior to. I think you can go either way, but like Bob was saying, I don't think you can get there without supplementation. And maybe the big difference is if you go strict carnivore, you don't need the supplementation. Everything is there. And you can kind of define them right there. But I think, you know, depending on the person, most anything can work. And you just got to figure out what works for you, because what works for you might not necessarily work for me, and vice versa. But yeah, I think, but it's one of the things I do enjoy is the different definitions. You know, my carnivore is not the next guy's carnivore. And, you know, okay, I've merged into, now I'm ketovore and now I'm ketogenic. And now, I mean, but I think basically if we figure out what works for ourselves, just share that information. That's probably why I enjoy the forum. I want to know what works for you because I may want to try it for me. So I think, this is a great topic with the vegan and whatnot. So.
And that's why I don't try to tell anybody how they should eat. I tell them what worked for me.
Right.
I'm fortunate and I'm blessed that just eating meat, salt, and water, I'm thriving on. I'm doing more at 69 than I could do at 49.
Yes.
I'm in the same boat.
We're
kind of parallel there.
This is, I'm thriving on this. When I wasn't thriving, if I was dying before 2 years ago, I was literally dying. I was waiting on death. I was sitting around knowing I was going to die soon. And now I'm thriving. I am rebuilding my farm. I just moved. I've been here a few weeks. I'm still getting things organized, but I'm working hard every single day. And I am thriving. I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm feeling great. Am I as strong and able as I was when I was 25? No. I am still old and I still have some joint issues, but I'm still thriving. I have sustained energy like I haven't had in decades. So,
same boat.
And 2 years ago, eating a vegan diet, I couldn't do this. I was a slug, literally a slug. I couldn't hardly move. I couldn't walk to my mailbox 100 yards away and back. And now I can get out there and I could throw a 40-pound pack on and go hump 5 miles, no problem. I couldn't do this 2 years ago. So this is what works great for me: meat, salt, water, lots of fat. But I don't tell anybody else they have to do that because everybody has to. I do say start with a foundation. Start with a 70-30 foundation and build from there. Build your own house, your own diet house. If fruit works for you, fine, eat fruit. But if you're stalling, if you're having issues, look at the fruit. It may be what your problem is. If you can eat cheese, you can drink milk, whatever, but you're stalling, you're having setbacks, well, let's look at that. That might be your issue, but you find your own path. You find your diet, what works for you. I'm just blessed that a pure carnivore diet works fantastic for me.
Same boat.
And same here. I mean, that's why we're all on the screen and when we share our stories with others, is because, we've tried all kinds of diets, including vegetarian and vegan diets, and they did not work for us to the extent that the carnivore diet has benefited us. So
I can tell you one thing that is, I just realized this recently. I was talking to Donna, Main Runner. She's probably still on here. And she was talking about, I think, wanting to, add some milk, to gain weight because she was losing weight. So I told her, drink some milk because what is milk for? What's milk do to baby mammals? It makes them rapidly grow and gain weight, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, go ahead and buy some whole milk. If you can get raw, great. If you can't, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Go get some whole milk and start drinking that. She said, well, maybe I'll incorporate some cream. I said, yeah, you can do that, but that's mostly fat, and that's probably not going to maybe put on as much weight as if you drink milk. Milk's got that galactose. It's got milk sugar in it, and it's got the fat and carbohydrates. So it's fat, carbohydrates. It's got it all. And the combination of the fat and the carbs and everything is going to cause you to, gain rapidly, to gain some weight. But curiously, this is something I found out that was kind of cured by carnivore. I used to be very seriously lactose intolerant before carnivore. And what I've determined, all of a sudden, I can now drink milk. I can have cream. I can even have ice cream. I mean, I don't really have ice cream, but, carnivore ice cream, whatever. But I can have cheese. And I'm no longer lactose intolerant. I used to carry around those Lactaid tablets, like I could not have milk or anything with milk or cheese or any of those things. I'd eat a couple pieces of pizza, man. I was bloated and pain in my gut. I'd get, diarrhea, everything, gas, terrible gas. Well, since I've gone carnivore, I no longer am lactose intolerant. It's the weirdest thing because I can have cheese, I can have cream, I can have milk, whatever. Nothing. No gas, no bloating, no nothing. Now it does cause me a weight stall if I, have too much of that. You know what I mean? So I gotta watch. I gotta watch that. But it no longer it causes me to be lactose intolerant. So that's
Yeah,
cured. That's another one I just added to my list.
yeah. I don't know. Not doubting anything as a cure or anything like that. I think in our immune systems, we've pummeled it for so long with the processed foods and the carbs, and the immune system is just never, for most people, we never gave it a chance to do its job. I mean, we just
Right.
continually pummeled it, and it just couldn't catch up. So things came up: lactose
Well,
intolerance,
and
Crohn's
here
disease, autoimmune diseases. And then as soon as you eat the carnivore diet, allows your gut to reset, which is huge. And once that gut resets, the healing is just amazing because your immune system gets to do its job. You're not pummeling. Similar analogy with Bob with the kidney disease. When you're talking about the cysteine C numbers and my creatinine numbers go up, but I can attribute it to just pounding the protein in because probably posted it on the board 100 times. But trying to gain muscle, I'm trying to eat a gram of protein per pound of lean body mass, and I'm struggling to eat 200 grams of protein a day. It's very hard for me. So, but when I do hit those stretches where I get up into that 180, 200 grams a day, and then I have I get blood tests every 3 months just for how I've been sick for the past few years. That's soon to go away. But I could see my creatinine numbers go up, but I could attribute it to I was pummeling the creatine, eating way more than what I needed. Like I can eat, and it's kind of all together when Rick and Jeff and them they talk about how much they can eat in one setting. I'm just simply amazed by it because I can't. If I eat a 14 or 16 ounce ribeye, it's 24 or 36 hours later before I even want to look at food. And so, in order to get 200 grams a day, I'm force feeding myself. It's like I'm sitting there going, just to get to that mark, to hit that target. And so my creatinine numbers go up, and then I'm probably setting myself up for some inflammatory issues because I'm not giving my gut time enough to empty out and do the things that it was naturally intended to do.
So Scott, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Why are you forcing if your body says I've had enough food, why are you forcing yourself to eat 200 grams of what I do is I listen to my body. Okay? If my body's hungry, I eat. If I'm
This is
not
true.
hungry, I don't eat. Okay?
Yeah, this is
And
true. But we
you're
all, as I look around this board, all of us are in that age where sarcopenia starts to have problem, muscle mass.
well look,
All of us lose muscle mass, and
yeah, I mean,
even Bart K, all those searches, the least amount of protein you need per day to even just maintain body mass muscle is 0.7 grams of fat. Now, we can all just eat when we're hungry, and that's what I did for the first 12, 14 months I was on. But I was losing weight at such a rapid rate, and it's just not body fat. It's just not water. It's muscle mass. And when you have a debilitating disease on top of normal sarcopenia, then my point is I'm trying to offset muscle mass loss. So I'm eating a lot of protein. I'm in the gym 3 to 5 times a week. I'm walking. I'm doing all kind of things. And like Jeff was saying earlier, physically, I'm actually stronger now at 56 than I was at 36. And like the young people tell me at the gym, the plates don't lie. I can stack plates now that I couldn't stack when I was 36. So that's the point of eating the extra protein. When I get to some point where I can, and I don't do it every day. I mean, I go and I'm not saying I'm lifting like a pro bodybuilder with a cutting phase and a bulking phase, but I have kind of mimicked that. I'll go a month where I make sure I try to hit that protein target. I'm lifting really heavy. And then the following month, I'll go back to just eating when I'm hungry. And that may be sometimes once a day, sometimes it's the following day before I eat again, 24 to 36 hours. So I kind of let it, the last 4, 5, 6 months, I've kind of let it just land where it lands on my off months. But yeah, I have been just pummeling the protein trying to offset the debilitating issues, which I have, as well as just a normal sarcopenia of just getting older. So that's the reason. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I could just eat, but I was losing weight. I averaged almost a pound a day for 30 days and then a half a pound. And I went from 325 to 215. It seemed like in a blink of an eye. And I looked sickly. I mean, I was pale and poor and broken down looking. So the protein, the lifting, the exercise was all a point to offset that. But I do get your point. Eating when I'm hungry, it works for me as well.
The other thing is, if you're not dealing with a certain thing, it's hard to understand. Like I know virtually nothing about kidney disease, okay, because I'm not dealing with it. I know a lot about blood sugar. I know a lot about blood pressure. I know a lot about cholesterol. But I know very little about Crohn's. I know very little about the things you just talked about. And the one thing I have found, I've been carnivore a little on and off, but more on than off for the last 3 years. And 2 or 3 years ago, I was wearing a CGM and exercise didn't show up on the CGM. It didn't show up. Now I can lower my blood sugar with simple exercise. I can do squats here at the kitchen sink. I can do calf rises at the kitchen sink. I could drop my blood sugar 12 points every 15 minutes. I could never do that before. I don't know what it means, but I could never do it before. I hope it's a sign that things are getting better.
Oh yeah, I'll be willing to bet if you can do those things, you're insulin sensitive now versus being insulin resistant in the past. And people that eat like I used to eat, I mean, my glucose would go up in the morning with the normal dawn effect, but then I would eat in the morning and push it up even higher. We need more insulin, and it was constantly up and down, up and down, up and down. And then eventually over time, what your normal number was this year is 10 points higher next year, 20 points higher the following year. And then that's when you start seeing, I hate the term pre-diabetic because I think we're all pre-diabetic. I mean, either A, you're not, or B, you are. But it's, I just think that's where you can see those swings. And on the carnivore diet, it's just so easy to get fat adaptive. And once you become fat adaptive, then after that, the insulin sensitivity is there, and your blood sugar is far easier to control. Not yours personally, but our blood sugar is much easier to control when we're not pounding the body.
Well, the longer you're diabetic and you don't take care of it, and you don't get off the carbs, the longer it takes to turn it around.
Yes, sir, without a doubt. I think that's one of the things we talk about too, is we're so individuals. I'm not going to heal at the same rate you're going to heal. If we're dealing with different things, you're not going to heal the same way the next guy does. And we're all individual. I think that's why it's really important to approach it as an individual, enjoy the group, exchange the information, but you really got to dial it in as an individual to make it work for you, me.
Right. So here's a comment that I think is worth discussing. So we have, so this comment says vegetable oils are not inflammatory. That's been debunked. So this is not exactly accurate. It's not exactly inaccurate either. So the data on it is mixed. But when we talk about vegetable oils or vegetable seed oils, and the reason that they're inflammatory is because they are so abundant in the standard American or Western diet that the amount that you are getting in omega-6s is completely unnatural. So it's, are we saying that if you go down to the restaurant and choose to have a salad with some ranch dressing, that all of a sudden your body is going to be inflamed from head to toe? No, that's not what we're saying at all. But when we want to get off the seed oils because they're inflammatory, we are literally talking about getting off of man-made processed food, because those seed oils are in everything. They're in breads, they're in cookies, they're in crackers, they're in cakes, they're in all these sauces and all these dressings. And people consume way too many vegetable seed oils today than they did. I've heard that the vegetable seed oil fats make up 70% of an average American's diet. And so when you're consuming them all the time and you have that much in your body all the time and that much omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which is supposed to be like, I think 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, the average American has a omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of 25-to-1. That will lead to chronic inflammation, and then the chronic inflammation in turn will lead to several diseases. So has it been debunked? No. Is it inflammatory? No. Or yes. And we got to add some context to this situation here. So hopefully that makes sense. So occasionally I will go out to eat and I might have a salad with some ranch dressing. Am I going to go up in flames or am I going to die? No. But if I ate vegetable seed oils for 70% of my diet, if 70% of my calories came from vegetable seed oils, like it used to back when I was very sick, then I don't even know if I would be here today, because I was on a path towards several life-ending issues before I changed my diet and improved my circumstances for the better. So anybody want else to add anything about vegetable oils?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I think it was just a sheer abundance more so
Right.
than the vegetable oil itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's some people that are very, very, like they go to a restaurant and they will ask like, hey, what do you cook? How do you cook the steak? And they don't, if you put it on the griddle, do you oil the griddle? What do you oil the griddle with? Can you use real butter? I don't even care. I don't even care. Like, I know there's certain restaurants where they're going to cook my steak on a griddle and they've poured some seed oil on it. It doesn't matter. The amount of seed oils I consume now compared to before my carnivore diet is so next to nil that little bit isn't going to do a thing to me. So no, that's not inflammatory. But when you eat it all the time and it's
I don't worry about it.
70% of your caloric intake is seed oils, then yeah, that's going to be inflammatory. So there's this statement here needs a little asterisk and some context. And so you're not wrong, but you're not right, because we need the context to actually address that statement. Alistair Hunt says meat only cannot support a healthy gut microbiome. There are no long-term studies for its health. So
that's not true.
Not true.
So, yeah, that's not true. But we know people who have been eating a strict carnivore diet for decades, and they're perfectly healthy. So is that in the form of a randomized control trial? No, it's not. But there are stories, there's accounts, there's people we know personally, and then there's ourselves. I might occasionally eat a plant or a vegetable seed oil or fruit or from time to time, but there's people on this screen that haven't touched that stuff in years, and they're doing perfectly fine and sitting here talking about their wonderful health benefits. So
just remember, Rick is 42 years carnivore. Rancher Maggie's all 60 years. 65 years. Lisa Wiedemann is around 20 years.
Yeah.
And Kelly Hogan also is right up there, right around 16, 17 years.
Yep.
Kiltsey is also 15 plus years. Dr. Baker and Dr. Chafee are 10 years plus at least, maybe more. But I mean, there's a lot of them out there. Jordan Peterson, I'll bet you he's 10
Probably
years plus.
I was gonna say 6 or 7 for sure.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
But I mean, I'm
going to call that long term.
If I sat here and thought about it.
Well, even Bella, 5 years. That's long term. I would say it's long term.
Who?
Bella.
Steak and butter.
Yeah.
She's like 5-6 years. So.
Yep.
That's all long term. Those are your studies, right? You see, this is what people want to say. That they want to get on to us about, well, that's all anecdotal evidence. You're right. It's anecdotal evidence. But guess what? That's real world evidence. It's not a study, because we are the study. We are the experiment. And we are proof that this
Hey.
works.
Yeah. And so he made the comment later on. I'm skipping ahead here. He said antidotes are pseudoscience. And actually, that is wrong. That's not fair.
And the diet that we follow, we chose it. Okay, none of us on this screen are stupid. None of us are stupid. Okay,
I'm stupid. I'm stupid.
You can ask my wife.
I don't go to bed at night saying, "Oh, I'm going to have a heart attack because I'm eating steak and fat." I don't worry about that. I don't worry about it. I know what the truth is, in my opinion. Could I be wrong? There's a 1/10 of 1% of 1%. Yeah, we got this wrong. Okay, I don't worry about it. Okay.
Let me tell you, you want to know what long term is? Let me explain to everyone on this screen what long term means for carnivore. Do you know how long humans have been eating fatty meat? Mostly nothing but meat. Hunting large game, fatty game animals, the largest animals, the fattiest animals they could catch. How many years do you think humans have been super carnivores? Well,
Millions.
it's somewhere between
Oh, that's
million
good. Yeah,
and
that's actually my next point I have bookmarked that we're going to get into.
So whenever anyone says that this is not a sustainable, it's you can't do this long term, the human race, we would be extinct. Okay, I've heard Dr. Berry talk about this so many times that I just want to, when people say this, is that humans have been eating fatty meat for 1 to 2 million years.
As
Okay,
long as they've been breathing.
Yep.
right, breathing and drinking water and breathing air. And so for anyone to say somehow fatty meat, eating lots and lots of fatty meat and eggs is bad, well, we would be extinct, folks. We would be an extinct species. So it's just all bull crap. You know, what the sugar industry did is they paid off all these studies, starting with Ansel Keys and all back in the 50s, okay? That to say that the real culprit is not sugar, it's not sugar and carbs, it's not seed oils, it is saturated fat. It's meat. It's red meat, right?
Mostly red meat.
It's eggs. Hold on, it's eggs. That eating an egg is worse than smoking, a bunch of cigarettes, right? So it's just go back like my ancestors, back in Russia and whatever. Okay, I'm a Russian Jew, right? They were cooking in chicken schmaltz, which is chicken fat. They were cooking in lard. Okay, they were eating tons and tons of fatty meat, brisket, chicken, whatever, steaks, pork, whatever. Okay, the bottom line is that way back then, we didn't have processed foods hundreds of years ago, and you didn't have diabetes rates like this. There weren't people getting their toes cut off like Thomas, right, Thomas? That wasn't happening. That wasn't a thing. Okay, so I'm sorry to go off on this rant, but when I see people, I see people who try and say that, oh my God, like today at work, I was showing my before pictures and after, and people are like, "Oh, Pete, you got to show this." All these new people. You got to show your picture of what you look like and all this. And then one of the girls that was there, that I work with, and she's like, "You." And I was saying, "Oh yeah, this morning I had 5 or 6 eggs and 5 strips of bacon." She was like, "You had 6 eggs? You know how bad that is for your cholesterol?" And I'm just like, it's like, I said, you know what? I said, I am trying really, really hard to give myself a massive heart attack, but I just keep getting healthier and thinner. And I got to tell you something. I eat like a king. I told her I eat like a king. Okay. And whatever. She's not going to get it. There's no way I can convince her in just a quick conversation. So I just say, yeah, I mean, I feel great. And I'm trying really hard to give myself a heart attack, but it ain't working. And I just keep getting thinner. I'm down 105 pounds, and I don't have any diabetes, no high blood pressure. I told her, I said, I'm off 3 blood pressure medicines. I'm off everything. So I don't know. this cholesterol isn't so bad, I guess.
Hey, Kelly, can you unmute yourself? I muted you because you have a lot of background noise. Do you have the ability to unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I
So
would-
I'm gonna mute you for the background noise, and if you ever want to speak, just unmute yourself. I just wanted to make sure you could do it. Okay.
I'm thinking what it is my AC is running because I noticed that you muted my mic a while back, and it's about that time the AC was running, and then all of a sudden it just quit. So I wonder if that's what it's coming through, and the vent is like close by to my mic.
Okay.
So maybe that's what it is. But I totally agree what Peter says 100% because the one thing is what about the indigenous native people that lives up north if they still live by their ancestral, like the Eskimos,
the Inuits.
Yeah. How are you going to grow plants? How are you going to grow vegetables in frozen tundra? They eat whale blubber. They eat polar bear. They eat whatever they can.
Fatty fish.
Once again, there's your long-term studies.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's I brought up this comment here because that was going to be my lead into our point number 4, which you guys have really addressed it. I don't really have much to add, but I will just for a recap. So this user says, yeah, because you eat so much fat, combining fat and carbs is what causes diabetes. All right, so there can be a problem with combining fat and carbs, especially processed carbs, but you can't say that it has to do with the meat and the fat alone because meat and fat have made up the bulk of most of the human diet for as long as humans have been around. Their false claim number 4 is that eating meat is the cause of diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. And that is just absolutely false. It's a scare tactic that gets published out there, usually by those with a vegan agenda. But most of those chronic diseases are relatively new, like from 1900 and beyond, 1930 to modern day. Type 2 diabetes began increasing in the 70s, cancer for the last 60 years. But people have been eating meat and butter and eggs for thousands of years before these diseases were even an issue. So this statement here just kind of really falls flat on its face.
Yeah, I don't agree with it
as
at
far as
all.
trying to single out meat and fat. Meat is a very, very, very old food, and the health problems are new. So that doesn't make much sense to blame old foods on new issues.
Good
And
point.
that's the reasoning that Papa Carnivore and Kelly were trying to bring out. And we've got modern day examples too of these tribes and other cultures like the Inuit who they can't even grow vegetation where they're at for most of the year, and so their diet consists mostly of meat, and they've got lesser rates of disease than any American, really. So, and we talked about this other comment here. We go back to this here about anecdotes or pseudoscience. It's not all anecdotes either. So there are tons of studies that show that there is no correlation between meat and these diseases. And save for, there are some studies that will link perhaps processed meat and the way you might cook some meat. But even those are still kind of not, 100%, correlated. 100% proven that those can be issues. So
one of the things with the antidote of pseudoscience is so funny. Well, all meta-analysis, all analysis in the science starts with an antidote.
Exactly.
I mean, it's got to start. Nobody just woke up one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to study carbs and see what they do." No one's going to study meat and see what it does. It's people like us, and our community is growing rapidly. So at some point, we'll force these studies that people say aren't out there now, but they are. I mean, you can go back as far back as the 50s. I read as much as I can about multiple sclerosis, and because that's the issues that I experience. And in the 50s, there was a red meat diet treatment for multiple sclerosis. Dr. Shafee talks about it quite a bit. And so the science was there. But then the marketing campaign that started in the 50s against red meat and saturated fats, it was an awesome campaign because it worked. I mean, it crippled an entire society with health problems, and probably 80-90% of the problems we have today came about in the 50s. And what happened in the 50s and 60s is we switched diets. We went from eating whole foods and meats and butters and lards and saturated fats to eating processed foods and fast foods and, like you described earlier, stuff in a plastic bag that's going to live forever. And we start eating that stuff, and then all of a sudden, 70s, 80s, and 90s, we've got all these new diseases, these new forms of this, and everybody's sick. And it started with just the way we ate, and those are the problems we're having now. And in our community, so many of us are just, you may eat hamburger, I may eat steak, next guy might eat pork chops, next guy might eat chicken. But one thing we have in common is when we remove that processed food and the refined sugars and all the preservatives and the chemicals and everything, then, all of a sudden we're healthy, and it's like magic. We're like, wow, how'd that happen? Well, we just went back to the 2 million years of science that was already there,
Right.
before we started eating the way we've eaten.
Yeah. So now pseudoscience, if you define pseudoscience, that's wild claims that are dressed up as science, but actually lack any kind of support or any means of like testing it. So like examples of pseudoscience would be, this happens to you because of this astrological event or sign, or this is an unproven miracle cure. That's like pseudoscience. Anecdotes, on the other hand, yes, they're personal stories, they're observations, but what they do is they actually spark scientific inquiry. So you have, especially when you have similar anecdotes coming from more and more and more people. So now you've got right now probably hundreds of thousands of people benefiting from a carnivore diet. That's a lot of anecdotes, so you can't just dismiss that. You can't dismiss the 7 people on the screen, who used to have diabetes, who used to have Crohn's, who used to have ulcerative colitis, who used to have narcolepsy, and who used to have high blood pressure, and who used to have bleeding gums, and say, well, those anecdotes don't account for anything. Are you kidding me? Of course they do.
and again, I'm
the guiltiest.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
No, I was going to say I'm the guiltiest of them, because when I first started carnivore, it was all a weight loss hack. I had zero idea that it did anything other than lose weight. And I had no research. I dove head first. I didn't do anything. And then I was watching a YouTube video, and it happened, and it was about multiple sclerosis. And Cabana lady, I can't remember her name now, but she was talking about getting off of her medicine for multiple sclerosis through carnivore. And I was like, it's just a crock. It's just something, I'm waiting for her to say, and if you buy my product, blah, 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 and spend your money. And I just didn't buy into it. I considered as, it's just pseudoscience, it's not true. And then the next day, I watched another video and another video. And then I'm like, well, but then that's when it dawned on me that, hey, I hadn't taken any medicine in 3 weeks. I haven't taken any medicine in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden, I haven't taken any medicine since May of last year. And I don't, at some point, pseudoscience stops and science starts when I was hurting and couldn't move around and couldn't get around. And now I can. Now I'm doing more as a 56-year-old than I did as a 36-year-old. So, that's the spark. At some point, somebody's got to say, hey, that's enough right there to create a study. That's enough. But like Jesus said, the study's already there. And we did it for 1 million years up until the 40s and the 50s. So the science is there. We really don't need any more. But the marketing campaign for everything that we've been eating was such a perfectly ran campaign. The whole world thinks this is the way we're supposed to eat, and we're not.
Foxy Joe says, I have bad news. I fell off the carnivore wagon for about a month now. Okay, well, you know what?
Climb back up.
Climb back on, So yeah, 30 days. You've had your vacation. Now it's time to get back to business. All right. Get back on the carnivore train, and don't stay off of it. The longer you stay off of it, the harder it is to get back on. The more damage you might have to. The more you're going to have to try and make up for lost ground. So you get right back on. Well, if you fall, you get back up. So no criticism here, no judgment. But hop back on, and we're here to help. All right. Rick says the vegans are here. You're getting popular. This is kind of my fault. I titled it "Vegan Deception" and used a couple hashtags with the word "vegan" in it. So I only have myself to blame. Foxy Joe talks about the diet of the Inuit, which is exactly what we were been discussing. Health benefits, low rates of cardiovascular disease, and what do they eat? All animal products. Suicide by ribeye is not a thing. That's good. And then Dustin from Keto Simple adds, this is a very good observation, most of the Inuit started to see disease as Western processed foods like chips, snacks, and soda were introduced. Refined grain, refined sugar, refined seed oils. That's the problem. In abundance.
Same with the Aborigines in Australia. Same with certain tribes in Africa. You know, the majority of people who ate meat were thriving until we decided to improve their diet, you know, with grains and vegetables and seed oils. And now they're not so healthy anymore.
You know, in South America, from Mexico on down, you know those little cans of Coke? They're like, I don't know, 6-7 ounces, small can. You know how they advertise it? This is the perfect size for your child to grip this can. It's child friendly. Yeah. And the parents down there, they pop open a can of pop, whatever you want to call it, and they hand it to the kid, and that's the first drink of the day. And they showed these kids down there, they have no teeth. They're 4 or 5 years old, and all their teeth have been yanked out because they're just totally riddled. And it's just, it's like, it's just crazy. My son-in-law went to Africa and climbed, I guess it was Mount Kilimanjaro in the, right on the border of Tanzania and Kenya, I guess. He was doing an African well thing, get water for Africa. And he said they were out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. They were just villages, grass huts. And they walked into this little, it was like a trading post. And there was Doritos there. They had Doritos and Coke in the middle of nowhere in Africa. They got Coke and Doritos.
It's interesting that they target.
The poison is spread everywhere.
They target the children, you know, and get them, hook them while they're young.
Yep, you got to hook them while they're young.
CB Carmack says you can't claim a causality without any proof, and there is absolutely no damn actual dietary science which exists saying any dietary approach is causal just as you're ignorant. Association at best. Absolutely. So, yep. Let's see here.
This is where our anecdotal evidence comes into play.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because, okay, yeah, there's no dietary proof. Because one thing, you can't make a blanket statement about everybody. You just can't do it. This is what works for me. That is the evidence, all the evidence I need.
Yep, agree.
And it's a good point made by Dustin here. Anecdotal evidence en masse is something to be considered. We have to remember that true nutrition studies can't be performed due to ethical reasons. Yeah. You just can't take a group of people and
Very true.
Force them to eat a certain way for the sake of study.
But when things go awry, like smoking cigarettes, okay, the association with cigarettes and lung cancer eventually got so huge it could not be ignored.
Yeah,
okay.
Technically, and they couldn't actually prove it.
And the cigarette companies were so smart. And you know where they got their brains from? The sugar industry. 1940, sugar was looking bad. The science was starting to show that sugar was the root of all evil, okay? And 4 major sugar companies hired the best attorneys they could find in the United States. And they said, oh, no, it's fat. It's saturated fat. That's the evil one, okay? That's how that came about. And then we went off to war, and what did we give our soldiers? Cigarettes, okay? We passed out cigarettes like crazy. And they all smoked. They came back and they all smoked. They worked till they were 65 years old. They retired. A year and a half later, they were dead. Social Security made a killing, okay? Made a ton of money. And what did the cigarette companies do? How are we going to get out of this jam? We're killing all these people. How are we going to get out of this? Let's go hire those slick attorneys who helped the sugar industry. And what did the tobacco industry do? Who do you think owns Kraft and Pillsbury and all those big food places?
Yep.
KB Reynolds owns those. All the cigarette companies bought the food companies. And you can't compete with a food company. They got the greatest scientists in the world. They know exactly how to addict you. They know exactly where to go find what. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. You can't beat them. You cannot.
Yep.
And they are that. You can't go to a baker, can't take flour and make cake as good as the Pillsbury box on the grocery store on aisle 7 where all the baked goods, all the baking stuff is. All those boxes at Pillsbury, Duncan Hines, whatever they are, those cake mixes are far superior to anything your best baker in town can make. And you know what your bakers in town use? A commercial cake mix. Because it's got all those 85 different ingredients in it that make it a perfect cake. You can't compete. You can't.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the GIs and cigarettes because when I was in the Army, we had cigarettes in our C rations.
Yep. And
Rick says he's never eaten a cake that was tasty. I saw that comment on the screen there in the corner. Yeah.
oh, I'm
Alistair
sure Tasty Cake really appreciates that.
I've had some, you know what? I've had a tasty cake. I'm not really. I've had more untasty cakes. So most cakes are terrible. But I've back in the day, when I ate some, there were some that were good. Alistair Hunt says, useful point being made between ethical vegans versus whole food plant based, and I just wanted to take this opportunity again to state that if you are a vegan for whatever reason, I can respect that. Absolutely. If you're vegan for ethical reasons, you love life, you love animals, they're cute, they're furry, you want to cuddle them, you don't want them to see any harm come to them, and that's why you choose not to eat them, that is an admirable quality for sure. Okay. If you are vegan for health reasons, because you realize that the standard American diet is the source of modern disease and killing people, and you have eliminated processed foods and you're trying to eat all natural, although it's devoid of meat, I can respect that. I'm so glad you are thinking about your health. So, and again, you know, the point of this topic, this thumbnail, these keywords or whatever, and this discussion, of course, was not to throw shade on the individuals who make these choices. The point is we do believe that you will fare better with a carnivore centric diet than you will a vegan diet, unless it is well crafted and supplemented. So, you know, we're not in denial that there's those people there that are successful in living that lifestyle. But the statistics don't lie. The majority of people ended up abandoning it and go back to what they were doing before that included meat. And very few can actually make it last a lifetime. So, and there are some who are lifelong vegans too, who suffer from disease and chronic illness. And when they decades, they're vegans for decades. And when they've even supplementing it, and when they've abandoned that lifestyle and reintroduced meat back into the lifestyle, or even gone carnivore, they've seen a complete reversal of their diseases too. So there's something to be said for that. So I just, you know, if you're vegan by choice, I actually think that's great. I think you're using your head and you're not just going with the flow. So again, no shade at all. That wasn't the point of the topic here by any means. So, but we just wanted to debunk some common myths, some common deceptions, and and just be very frank about them. So Dustin says, go into your setting in each live to set the comments to require someone to be subscribed for 1, 5, or 10 minutes. This keeps the trolls at bay. I'll have to look up how to do that. I just always start my lives from StreamYard. So I guess I could do that in the YouTube studio after this. I set it up in StreamYard. I'll have to check that out. And actually, I haven't minded the comments. So, but if you're commenting, it'd be even cooler if you're a subscriber. Let's see here. The modern day Mayan population are they meat centric too? And let's see here. Foxy Joe says this is an awesome channel. Thanks all of you guys for doing this. Latro says I appreciate the Monday channel. Real people sharing real stories. And Rick's been helping some friend who got himself locked out of his car. That's good. Good Samaritan Rick. That's that definitely takes priority over hanging out on YouTube all night. So doing something good like that. Dustin says with fatty liver, doctors were 100% sure that it was only caused by alcohol. It was not until it started showing up in children did they finally start to look at sugar and carbohydrates. Yes, very good. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is 100% from sugar and carbohydrates, and so is diabetes. I've heard diabetes should be called what is it? Over carbohydrate. I forget. I can't forget it. There's a clever term I heard for it. It'll come to me. It'll come to me when we're all done, of course, probably. Let's see here. We're encroaching up on 10:30. We're down to 3 on the screen. If you want to jump on, there's that message that's pinned at the top. We'll probably close this out in about 10 minutes. And let's see here. Let me catch up on some comments here. All baked goods are disgusting duck food. That's actually how I feel now. So very rarely you see me consume anything that's baked. So I think the last thing I had on vacation was a gyro. So it was my first gyro in 3 years. So the only time I ever eat refined grains and sugar usually is for a special occasion. And normally that means my anniversary, and that's it. And that's only because we go somewhere where they charge you an obtuse amount of money. So you bet I'm going to eat everything they bring out. Linda says, I'm real late, but we'll watch it all. All right. Well, glad you could make it. Glad to see you, Linda. Hope everything's going well for you. New World Order Princess says, my pregnant wife only likes fast food. Yeah. I have a child who's kind of similar. So hopefully, as time goes on, they work on it. Anyone rejecting carnivore has not yet suffered long enough. This is a good point. One becomes carnivore when the pain of change becomes less than the pain of remaining the same. That is a golden comment right there, because that's where I was, for me to fully adopt it and to give it a try is because my list of health conditions had gotten alarmingly long that I thought that I had the Grim Reaper behind me most of the time, and if I didn't make a change, it was going to be too late if it wasn't already. And so I made the change and experienced the benefits. And so I'll never, at this point, I'll never change. I'm carnivore for life. So go vegan, more meat for us. Trolls don't bother his lives very much. So, like I said, I asked for it. So, yes, you go into YouTube Studio afterwards and customize each live. Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Dustin. That's it. Carbohydrate toxicity. Yeah. diabetes is chronic carbohydrate toxicity. So that's exactly the term I was looking for. Carbohydrate toxicity. So it has nothing to do with fat. Meat does not cause diabetes. That is a myth. That's another myth that springs from the misreading of blood work, by the way. And so there's people who go on a carnivore diet, and after so many months of having a strict carnivore diet, they see their A1C go up 1/10 of a point or 2/10 of a point. So ignorant people will look at that increase in the A1C and say, look, your carnivore diet is causing diabetes. That's a wrong interpretation of the number, because what we've come to learn is what's going on is that your blood cells are living longer than they used to, and therefore have more time to glycate, and therefore that number also that trickles up 1/10 of a point or two is skewed, it's unreliable, just like a creatinine and an EGFR could end up being unreliable, except for the exact same reasons. Amy says, my sister-in-law didn't drink and died in 2021 from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease from her sugar addiction. Oh, that's so sad. I'm sorry to hear that. So yeah, nothing to do with alcohol. It's a real thing. Why settle for bread of cake when you could have a tasty steak instead? And Jemette's late. That's okay. Glad you could join us. We're going to wrap this up in about 4 minutes, by the way. That'll be 2.5 hours. That'll be pretty good. I'm going to go down and spend some time with my wife. You can look at Jeff. His eyes are getting heavy. And
Yeah.
actually,
In fact,
Kelly's,
I'm fixing to bail.
yep, Kelly's looking pretty tired too.
Yeah, I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning, wide awake. So, yeah, I'm about to bail as well.
All right. And you know what? That's I just got to the end of the comments. So yeah, there's that's good. Nothing else to highlight here. All right, Jeff. So you're all moved in. How's the unpacking going?
Oh, it's going. We've got probably about 2/3 of the house settled in, and you know, it's not just the house. We got to, you know, working on fence, you know, working on, you know, getting the animals situated and everything, and then on top of that, I got to get set up for hunting season, which I just finished setting everything up for that today. And what I'm dreading is my shop. I got everything piled up in my shop, and I got to start breaking it down and getting all my tools and everything out and getting them situated. So it's, you do what you can when you can, as you can.
Yeah. And did any of you guys tune into the any portion of the Charlie Kirk Memorial Service?
I haven't. I just saw bits and pieces from maybe YouTube or Facebook's about it.
Yeah. I watched I kept clicking on it throughout the day. The whole thing lasted like 9 hours. I kept clicking on and off. Throughout most of it, I mean, it was like a very big religious service. So I didn't want to sit there and watch that all day, but I did want to catch some of the major speakers. So I watched the speech by J.D. Vance and Erica Kirk and Donald Trump. And like Erica Kirk was actually very moving. Her portion of the program, her talk was very, very, very powerful. And so if you watch any of it, watch hers. I think I wanted to hear what she had to say, being the widow, and I tell you what, she's one strong woman. So very emotional.
It made me really think about forgiving others when she forgave the assassin right there on national television.
Yeah. And so, like, you know, I mentioned last week that there's other things I want to talk about, and I don't know if I want to do that on this channel. I'm kind of locked into carnivore topics on this channel, so I thought about maybe starting another channel where I can talk about, religion, the news, and other things like that. And but I haven't quite decided to commit to it yet. But I have a lot to say on this thing, So there's not a lot of notorious deaths, celebrity deaths that kind of get me, But this one actually really bothered me, and because I liked Charlie Kirk as a debater, so many of his values and my values, they spring from the same source, and his ability to just reason with people when he had these discussions with college students, I thought was absolutely amazing. I don't get into the politics portion of it, and but still, when I was on vacation in Myrtle Beach, when I heard they got shot, and then my son told me, and I'm like, oh wow, and then like we pulled it up on TikTok, and you actually got to see it, which is actually something you kind of wish you could unsee. And unfortunately, most of the internet's been scrubbed of that footage, and it was just horrible. But I haven't had a death like that affect me since, like, some of the ones that I can think of in the past, like Steve Irwin, Crocodile Hunter. I remember that one really bothered me, and I was kind of a little upset that Prince died, and the ones that are, something that are unexpected like that, so this one kind of got me too. But I wanted to watch it. I wanted to watch the some of those memorial talks, only because to me this is a historical event. This is, from my point of view, this is, on the same plane as, like, Martin Luther King Jr. as far as a historical event goes, and so that's why I wanted to talk about. But I brought it up in the forum over at carnivoretalk.com, and we had a little kickback about, we want to talk about carnivore, not politics and religion. So, do I make a video about it on this channel? It's off topic. People come here not to listen to that. People come here to learn about carnivore. So I've thought about starting another channel, and I just kind of like some input as to whether I should. Jokingly, I want to call it According to Bob. Just like according to Matthew, according to Mark, according to Luke, according to John. I would call it According to Bob. I think it'd be a cute name. So, and then talk about anything I want. So it's little stuff that I kick around in my head. So we have some comments here. Some people don't know who he was, and a lot of people didn't know who he was. So someone says it's a JFK level event. Yeah, I would agree with that. So, and Erica Kirk said that she forgives the person who took her husband's life, which was powerful. And I know there's no law saying what I can talk about on my channel, but my channel is not for me. My channel is for all of you. So, that's the whole point of Carnivore Talk is it's not about Bob, it's about the community. So that's why I think in terms like that. So anyhow, that is it. See us through the week over on carnivoretalk.com. Say hi in the comments section of the videos. I'm way behind on catching up on those. It's good to see everybody. Kelly, glad you could join us. Jeff, glad you could join us. Sorry if I kept you guys up past your bedtime.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Well, thank you for inviting us.
Yes. And I hope you come back next week when we do this again next Monday night. And everybody in the comment section, including our vegan friends, it was a pleasure to have you. Thanks for such a good discussion, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night. We're signing off.